I'm getting ready to replace this ceiling fan. I've taken off the blades and stuff because this was old. It was wobbling all over the place. The blades were delaminating and all that. But I wanted to show you something that I found that maybe your ceiling fan is wobbling around because of something as simple as this. These attachments, these little supports for the blades are screwed up here, and they should be nice and tight. This one's loose. This one's really wobbly and loose. This one's loose a little bit, not as bad as the other one. This one's really floppy. See that? And when that happens, look at that one. This thing's been up here for 15, 20 years. And what happens is these screws ultimately, eventually start loosening up. So if you get a blade that's hanging down at a different angle than another blade, can you see how that could make your ceiling fan wobble? So you've always got to check. And I've got some videos that show that. That's one of the things. This is just a quick reminder of, if you've got a ceiling fan that wobbles, don't just say, oh, I've got to get a new one already. And look at this up here. I'm gonna pan you in a little closer. And see that rod, this extension rod right here fits up into that housing bracket. Let me move my ladder back a little bit. And that housing bracket then holds the rod from wobbling. But in this bracket itself, these are the 3 wires that come up here. These wires here come up into the ceiling, okay? This one is attached to the metal bracket. Well, this metal bracket has a notch right here, and that's where you can lift this up and slide it out. Well, see on the side of this, you see that groove right there? That groove was sitting right like this, and no wonder it was wobbling, because it's not in its right place. There's a notch. The other side of this metal housing, there's a notch over here, and to install this properly, they should have had this moved around like this, and then it's going to click down into place. Clunk. You see that? Now it should not wobble. Maybe yours was not installed properly. I'm very surprised at that. And then say when you lift this up out of here like this, usually this top housing piece here is attached with a set screw, and this round knuckle is tight on here. Well, sometimes that loosens up too, and this one's loose. That could have been tightened up too. So I just lifted the whole ceiling fan down. Now I can put it back up in there like that, and then you swivel it around, clunk right down into place. If you're not sure, do it again. See? Fits right down in there. So there's 3 things I pointed out. This knuckle is loose, set screw on top of this. That notch from the knuckle into the bracket was loose and wasn't lined up properly. And the support brackets for the blades were not all tight. 3 things you can do yourself to maybe possibly fix your ceiling fan. Now here's something else I want to briefly explain to you and show you on a ceiling fan, because your ceiling fan might not have this, but others have this. I'm going to take this out now. I've got these wires separate. This wire has been disconnected and everything. I'm going to lift this up. Be careful. This thing's heavy. You can hand it down to someone or gently carry it down the ladder. I'm going to get back up there in a minute and show you more about that bracket. Now let's talk about that bracket really quick like, shall we? This bracket usually is attached to a ceiling box, and the ceiling box is set up in there, but this bracket here is screwed right to the ceiling joist up here, the roof joist. You can see there's no bracket up here at all. Here's the power, and they pushed it right down through the ceiling. There's no attic up there, so there's not much I can do about that. Okay? The most important thing is, if you're going to put a bracket up like that, first off, usually you should put it in a support box and have it attached properly that way. Then this bracket would attach to that. Okay, they didn't do that on this one, but they made sure that they attached this bracket instead of into a box. They screwed it right into the roof joist. And when you do that, you've got to make sure you hit the joist. You can't put those up into plastic anchors or toggles or anything like that. And it looks like they've got 2 screws in here. They probably got one that's kind of fairly long. Then they got a sheetrock screw in there too. Now this side, yeah, they got 2 screws over here, and that's good that they did that. Now when I go and replace this bracket with my bracket on the new ceiling fan, I'm going to have to make sure I have long enough screws in there to feel comfortable knowing that it's all tight up there, because these screws here are the only thing that hold up the whole ceiling fan. And the ceiling fan, most ceiling fans are pretty heavy. Okay, and I'm feeling this. It looks pretty snug. It's rocking just ever so slightly. So if you got an old ceiling fan, you want to double check everything. Look up there and see if it's mounted properly. And if it's going into your ceiling joist, make sure the screws are tightened up, or pull one screw out and see, oh, that one's not long enough. I better put a bigger screw in there or something. You know what I mean? So this one, I'll still be able to hook it up. I wish they would have put this in a box though. This is just flopping like that. But once I put all that inside, and this has to cover inside the housing, and it will, because the trim is pretty big up there, and that's going to cover that. Okay, so it should still be okay. It's been like this for probably the last 20 to 30 years, who knows, maybe longer. And that's how that works.